Who can beat Mahoraga? I can think of like 6, maybe 7. What's up, guys? That guy with no, I actually dropped it. My bad. Whoops. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact: and it to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact: Mahoraga, big Raga, big daddy rock man. Man. Mahoraga, he's definitely been a character who's kind of been all over the place for me personally. Whether or not I think he's really crazy broken all the time, or I think he's watched a lot, but I think he's actually good in crossverse, or he's not good in crossverse. Like, Mahoraga's weird, especially considering he's not even really a character, he's a technique. So, like, he comes with a whole bunch of issues on that front alone. And then, of course, there's the adaptation, but he's a character of characters, let's say, considering he's not even a character. But, very specifically, to answer the prompt of this Vigimo by the glorious King Restless Gambler, whose link, along with the original video, will be in the description down below, because I like the app a lot. This video is 20 minutes and 40 seconds long. I can promise you that. One thing. That's not how English works. I can promise you one thing, that I will be yapping longer than 20 minutes and 40 seconds, so please check out the original. It will be linked in the description down below. But, back to the topic. Big Raga. Who can beat him? Obviously Gojo. Obviously Sukuna. We literally saw them do it. In the case of the former, they literally did it while brain damaged. And very specifically, after having Mahoraga adapt to like a majority of their kit. So Gojo gives Mahoraga the most vicious backshots ever. And then Sukuna, we once again just saw him do it. It was a wild Raga, but like, who cares? It doesn't really matter. Like, unless you're in the camp that Raga adapts stats, which is a possible argument. I'll talk about whether or not Raga adapts stats another time. Like, it doesn't matter. Sukuna literally always beats Raga. He has the perfect combination for it. The domain into Fuga scenario will always wipe Raga unless Raga came pre-adapted to that. Like, we aren't going to do that. A sleeper one, I'm not expecting many people to agree with me on, at least initially, and I wonder if Gamblrr will bring her up. Angel. I think Angel actually gives Mahoraga backshots. And be wondering, why? And to that, I say, Mahoraga's a technique. So it comes with its own unique special stipulations that make him a lot more susceptible to certain things that other characters wouldn't be. So if you'll remember, back when Sukuna first incarnates and he summons the massive Nue, and we see the lightning bolts hit Maki, and she face tanks it, and do stream damage to Takaba in the redraws, guess what happens? Hana, before activating Jacob's Ladder, by the way, starts flexing her magical anti-curse technique aura, and the gigantic Nue instantly desummons. Remember, that's a Sukuna amped Nue fused with a Rochi, and it's still instantly desummoned. And then, of course, there's Jacob's Ladder. So if Hana's passive aura can destroy Big Raga, then, of course, the full output Jacob's Ladder, and it may not even be needed. It will literally just turn Raga off. And before y'all argue, wouldn't it just turn off Raga's adaptation? The adaptation is an ability of the technique. It is still a technique at the end of the day. It's like wondering, let's say you're running something on a computer, and then you unplug the computer. It would turn, like, no matter what was running on the computer, because you unplugged the computer, it would turn off. So even though Raga's adaptation is one of its abilities, once you turn off Raga, its adaptation doesn't matter. So Hana, a sleeper pick, would do it. Yuki is another person who could do it specifically through the black hole. I don't think, well, it really depends. If you think, what do you think the upper limits of Raga's regeneration are? Because notably, we never actually see it press. It either gets entirely vaporized or atomized by either Furnace or Purple, and it regenerates from slashes. That's really it. We don't actually see it take, like, massive chunk damage. But if you think it can get, like, burst, like the Garuda Curse did, and, like, its regeneration isn't that good, then Yuki could do it with a regular attack just because of the scale of them with Garuda, if she's fast enough to hit Raga, depending on if you think Raga adapts stats or not, yada yada. But at the same time, she has Black Hole. She black holes and eviscerates Raga. Raga ain't adapted into, like, actual spatial bending. Then Yorozu is another one, mainly because of Perfect Spear. Obviously, we saw Mahoraga beat Yorozu, though, Pencilman. What are you talking about? Yeah, we saw Mahoraga beat Yorozu after he was already popped out, pre-adapted, thanks to Sukuna running the whole test on Yorozu. The Infinite Spear would infinitely annihilate Raga under normal circumstances if she was fighting a wild, not pre-adapted Raga. Then, that's 5. I said 6 or 7 in the intro, right? And then, oh, another sleeper one. I'm not expecting people to agree with me on, but I actually made a video about it a while ago. Toji. Why? Inverted Sphere of Heaven. All it takes is one bit of interaction. And boom. Raga poofs, because he's a technique. Force stoppage of all curse techniques. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Raga goes by Toji's hand. Then, who am I missing? I'm missing one more. Oh, Yuta. Once again, for the same reasons that Hana diffs, Yuta diffs. I personally believe 5-minute timer on, Rika holds Raga down, gets sure hit domained, and just gets absolutely violated by Yuta. So that's 7. But I feel like there's more. I feel like I'm missing a couple. I hit the big ones. For the ones that people may wonder, Yuji, no, can't do enough damage in one big hit. Maki, no, can't do enough damage in one big hit. Hikari, no, can't do enough damage in one big hit. Arame, no, can't do enough damage in one big... I mean, unless you think, once again, it really questions Raga's, like, regeneration. If you think Arame is just going to freeze Raga and then shatter them, maybe it could come back from that. But if you think Arame could just freeze Raga and shatter it, and then it wouldn't be able to regenerate, it would dispel, then technically Arame could be added to that list as well. But I'm still, since that's not like a solid thing I'm 100% on, because I just don't know the upper limits of Raga's regeneration, I'm not going to add her to the list, or add them to the list confidently. Then, who am I missing? On my glorious, legendary, juicy, scrumbly, umptious, thicker than a snicker-tier king, Ryu Ishigotri? Maybe. I made this argument in the video before, but people point out in the comments, it seems like the potency of the large-scale Granite Blast is actually kind of butt. So if you think that Raga does actually have like a level of base durability, and it's like strong enough to eat certain things if unadapted, then maybe the wide-scale Granite Blast wouldn't work, and it would have to be the wide-scale Granite Blast. None of the smaller-scale Granite Blasts would work, because they just destroy a piece of Raga, then Raga would adapt to Ryu's Curse Energy, and then he's cooked. So Ryu, he's a shaky one. Once again, I add him to the list quicker than I add Arame to the list, just because of the scale of his attacks, but that, once again, comes into the Raga durability argument. And who else am I missing? Obviously not Kusakabe. Any of the other special grades? Oh, Geto can't. And neither can I don't think Kenjaku can either. Just based on how their domain interacted with Yuki, aka it damaged her, but didn't immediately like eviscerate her. I don't think it'll work. And I don't think Uzumaki's big enough. Raga's huge. He's huge. So like the Uzumaki may take off an arm, it's back, and then he's adapted to that. So like cooked. So I don't think Kenny can do it. But I think that's it. I think I got to 7 characters solid. But, of course, enough of my yapping. Look at that. I warned y'all. I like the yap. But those are my thoughts on 7 characters who actually beat Mahoraga. But let's see what Russell's going to say. Let's see if he brings up... Oh, Ultimate Mekamaru. There's a solid 8th just because of the scale of his attacks. And if you think Raga has no Dura. Or has, like, unquantifiable Dura before adapting to anything. Ultimate Mekamaru. That's the one that came to mind. I'm not even sure what triggered that. But I don't think Mahito can. Jogo, maybe? Depends on if, like, the lava pool he summons is big enough. I don't know. Or maximum meteor hits. Maybe. I don't know. So Jogo may be another one. But then again, that's debatable on the interactions, how that goes. Because Jogo could also immediately get one-tapped, right? Like, I'm talking about people who could just, like, beat Raga if they hit Raga. But the thing is, Raga's really fast, even wild and untamed. He actually was able to attack Sukuna when Jogo wasn't. So, like, Jogo would probably get one shot before he could get anything off because of the Cursed Spirit Destroying Blade. Same thing with Mahito. Obviously not Hanami, obviously not Dagon. I hope I hit everybody. He's probably going to drop like 3 extra characters or 4 extra characters I did not name. I'm going to be like, Pencil Man, you idiot! But let's not waste more time. Let's hop right into the video itself. Mahoraga. Wait. What's this video quality? Get that bad boy up and out of here. Give me that 1080p 60 HD. Yeah, I'll buy you. That didn't really change much, but let's see.
You can see it, Mahoraga! You can see my curse technique!
The Divine General is...
I'm gonna go and do... Like, I'm waiting a bit longer just to make sure that the great overlords do not immediately come and erase me from existence. But I do want to do more anime breakdowns. Despite all the times the Toji versus Dagon fight popped up in that video, I really like doing the Jogo versus Sukuna breakdown. So I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna do it. And in that case, I'd probably flip the perspective. I'm fine with doing like small little me in the right hand corner for this, but like just an extra way to avoid the overlords dropping down from the heavens and smiting me when I go to break down anime battles. I will probably flip the ratio. But back to the video.
The ultimate weapon of the 10 Shadows technique. Throughout the story, Megumi Fushiguro, the only original user of the technique, would be shown trying to summon this beast time and time again. This was until Shibuya when we finally got to see who Mahoraga was. To say the very least, we got exactly what we were expecting and even more. So in today's video, let's put this monster up against some of Jujutsu Kaisen's best. What's up guys, Restless Gamblrr here, and in today's video, we're going over everyone in JJK who can defeat the one and...
I need to double check. He probably has it in the description. Restless Gambler's thumbnails are so good. They're so good. And they have a consistent style. He all of his thumbnails, not just his JJK videos, but his One Piece videos. I think he probably commissions, or I don't know. Does Gambler do the artist himself? I'm almost tempted to go small screen and double check. I think I'll check that after the video. But all of his thumbnails are so good. They give his channel such a nice uniform feeling. That's why I try to do that with my channel, but I've used my face instead to be like, oh, you'll know it's a pencil video because you'll see me mean mugging in the thumbnail at the time. But in terms of artistic quality, I do one side, because I'm still working. I'm still trying to build up for versus battle so I can release them weekly. So don't worry, some of them are done, but I haven't released them yet because I'm still wrapping up editing touches on that. But for the versus battles I plan to do, I also want to do the custom image style, like I did for Toji versus Kashimo forever ago. I want to have my own individual drawings done for that, but it do take a while. And of course, there's a drawing that's done in the video and the drawing that's done in the thumbnail, which are always basically two different things. But let's see.
And only Mahoraga. He's definitely a tough guy and a super bad matchup for a ton of people, but the fighters on my list are the complete opposite. Who they are? Well, you're gonna have to wait and see, right? And definitely subscribe if you want to see more content like this. You're not gonna regret it.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you, Mike.
In chapter 114 of the manga, Megumi, after watching Toji stab himself in the head, is caught off guard by Haruta. 3 chapters later, we see Megumi crawling away from him, but what he's saying is of note. Megumi is divulging his curse technique to Haruta without him even realizing it. This is when we enter a short flashback between Gojo and Megumi, where Gojo tells his student that there is an interesting reason the Gojo and Zeni clan are on bad terms. Hundreds of years ago, the heads of the households respectively killed each other in battle. The Gojo clan's head had the Limitless technique and 6 eyes like Satoru, and the Zeni clan member had the 10 shadows technique like Megumi. Megumi assumes the way the Zeni clan member was able to do that was the same way he was using it.
Which is now, I don't know if the 6 eyes is the Limitless user from a can of paint, but they had to be butt, bro. They had to be butt. How are you the head of the clan? Because the thing is, we know purple existed before Gojo. I've seen people get confused and be like, oh, it looks like Gojo invented purple. He did not. He did not. If you'll remember, that whole section of the fight literally explains how the reason curse techniques like the Limitless are well known and Toji could counter it because the information leaks out. But purple is the one bit of tech that did exist prior to Gojo that very few people know about, and that's why I caught Toji off guard because he didn't know about it. So purple existed. And remember, this battle between the head of the Zeni clan and the head of the Gojo clan was only 400 years ago, which is still a long time, but generationally, from the modern day, at least the modern day of the series, that's maybe 8 generations, 10 if you're being generous, assuming let's just say everyone lived to 50. But once again, I'm not too sure on the generation. But regardless, they should have had purple. Or at least they should have known of it. Unless they were a pre-awakened Teen Gojo level leader of the clan, they were butt. How do you lose to Raga when you have every tool in the book to beat Raga? And of course, Gojo Satoru is the exception in every single way, shape, and form. So maybe his reds are an entirely different universe than the regular reds. But even Gojo is I could one-shot Raga with red. Raw Raga. And remember, Raw Raga. It would pop out not adapted to anything because the only reason Sukuna could do the prep during the Gojo vs. Sukuna fight is because he had already tamed Raga. If we're to go with Megumi's assumption here, and what Megumi literally says that no one's ever tamed Raga before, then that means the Limitless and 6 eyes user lost to Wild Raga. How butt can you be, dog? Especially considering we learned in the Gojo vs. Sukuna fight, Infinity, or just the applications of the Limitless, take forever to adapt to. Literally forever. Gojo was hitting Sukuna a whole bunch, and it still took way too long for Raga to adapt to anything when he's being hit in the shadows. How did you lose that? How butt are you, previous 6 eyes Limitless user? I don't know, and that's real sad.
And then he goes on to note that Mahoraga is a Shikigami that not a single user of the 10 shadows has ever been able to exercise. Before even seeing Mahoraga, we get some scaling for him. What this statement means is that there was a 10 Shadows user in the past who wasn't strong enough to exercise him, but his Mahoraga was strong enough to kill a Limitless plus 6 size user. There's a reason I emphasize his Mahoraga, but that'll come into play later. When Megumi summons Mahoraga,
he's gonna talk about the differences between the Ragas, isn't he? I'll be real with y'all. I'm kind of indicating that Raga doesn't change all too much. Like obviously it changes based on like how much it's adapted to, but like unless I'm mistaken, Raga doesn't really get anything from being summoned by Sukuna. He doesn't. And hey, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a good thing. I think it's whack. Max Elephant gets upgraded to Myriad Elephant. Obviously, Nue gets infused with Orochi. That's why it's so big, but still, technically, that's an upgrade that it got when being wielded by Sukuna. Even the Divine Dogs, when they weren't summoned fully, they looked different and were much bigger. Raga, he's kind of just the same dude. And I know people are going to say, well, isn't he a bit bigger? Oh, maybe a tiny bit. But scale-wise, remember how tiny Megumi is next to Mahoraga. And remember that scale-wise, Megumi and Meguna are the same, and the scale was about the same between every single time we saw Mahoraga and Meguna on the same screen, just with Megumi and Mahoraga. So I don't know, I think Mahoraga's whack in terms of like at least his evolution, because he didn't evolve. But I think he's gonna mention the differences and the stat differences, because the common belief, it's like me and a couple other people I know who are like, Raga doesn't really change all too much. But the thing with Raga is that most assume because he was summoned by Sukuna, someone with much higher output, then he has to be stronger, right? He's not wild anymore. But I don't know. Well, let's see.
He literally gets one shot by it instantly, so imagine the fight that happened 100 years ago. What probably happened is that the 10 Shadows user summoned Mahoraga, got killed first because we know verbatim that the user didn't tame him, then the 6 size user got killed by Mahoraga as well, so they both died. We don't know if the 6 size user from back then was awakened, but it's pretty safe to say that the user wasn't, so we can compare them to pre-awaken.
We have to assume they weren't. Which is still still losing to Mahoraga. Like, a max output blue against a raw, fresh, untamed Raga should have done numbers. But I guess they're just butt. Was it?
Gojo, who at the time had blue and infinity at his disposal. Despite only having one lethal attack, he was still crazy strong. Toji didn't even know for sure if he could step to him without prep time. This feat is even crazier when you realize that maybe the user wasn't even relative to pre-awakened Gojo. We know that Kinjaku has lost to 2 6 size users in the past, and after the second time he killed the next one right at birth. Satoru is also the first 6 size user in 400 years to possess both these qualities. This might imply that there was a 6 size user who didn't have the Limitless, but I think it's pretty obvious that the 6 size is a Gojo clan exclusive. What all this means,
I do genuinely wonder though. Like, notably, I was wrong on that in the past. I always thought like, oh, you could have the Limitless, you just didn't have the 6 size. But like, you literally can't use the Limitless without the 6 size. Like, you can't. Like, it's so curse energy inefficient, and you need that level of optical ability. So like, if you were born with the Limitless and no 6 size, it wouldn't even make sense. Like, your brain may break attempting to use the technique. So like, you had to be born with it. But then again, I'm not sure if you can. I forget if it was also vice versa. Like, if you were born with the 6 size, then you should, and you don't have that, you're just like a really strong, really efficient guy with good perception, I guess. I don't know. The 6 size alone are kind of weird.
Is that the second 6 size user that Kinjaku lost to is the one that died to Mahoraga. So Kinjaku in that time period lost to probably a less experienced Gojo member, then that Gojo member went on to die to a Mahoraga from a Zeni clan member who couldn't tame him. Again, we'll get into why this is so important in a second. We've been yapping about these hypotheticals enough, so now let's get into what we actually see. Megumi summons Mahoraga and of course gets one shot, but before Mahoraga can kill Haruta, Sukuna saves him. Megumi is dead, but he's in a suspended state of death, so once Haruta is killed, he would die right after, just going back to what I said earlier. As Sukuna squares up with Mahoraga, he says he wants a little taste. So what he does during this battle isn't indicative of what 15-figure Sukuna going all out would do against him. Just letting y'all know. Sukuna blocks Mahoraga's first attack, but he notices there's positive curse energy coming from the blade, and he literally admits in his head that if he was a cursed spirit, he would have been a goner. There is literally no reason to lie in his head. If 15-figure Sukuna was a cursed spirit, he would have gotten one shot by that attack.
And that literally, what that says is every single cursed spirit, except the only exception, because she has cursed energy, she has RCT herself, as it's revealed. I mean, oh, it's weird, but the only exception is Rika. for two reasons. One, because Rika has RCT herself, so she likely has some sort of resistance to it. I don't know how Curse Spirit has RCT. I have no idea, but it's the case. And also, she's kind of weirdly immortal. Or at least that's what's implied a lot. Like, especially in Zero, it's implied that she's just, like, immortal. For reasons. Oh, no, that's not the reason I was going to say. The main thing I was going to say, the other thing I was going to say, not even her, like, pseudo-immortality, which is argued back and forth. She also just has more cursed energy than Sukuna. She's described as, like, literal, actually boundless infinite cursed energy. Sukuna, while he has a lot, it's still finite. It's like, you could argue, in terms of, like, cursed energy amount and cursed spirit composition, Rika is technically more dense cursed energy than what Sukuna is. Even a hypothetical 15-finger cursed spirit Sukuna. And that's why, ultimately, I don't think Raga one-shots Rika. I used to think it. Oh, you can go back to the channel history. I used to think it. But then chapter... Which one was it? It was right before the end. It was like chapter 260-something. I think it was like chapter 268. Revealed that Rika used RCT on Yuta, the highest level of it. And I was like, oh, well, I guess she just doesn't get one-shot by Raga anymore, because probably cursing you wouldn't do anything. If she can use it, she's likely not fodder to it. So, bada bing, bada boom.
Doesn't necessarily prove anything for Mahoraga's strength, but it does for his lethality against cursed spirits. Right before this, Sukuna hits Mahoraga with some flying slashes, to which they injure.
Now this is one of the things that's debated about base Raga's raw durability. This is gonna sound funny to some people, and I know why. But in the manga, it's harder to tell. But the anime makes it very clear that the slashes pass through Raga. Like, they passed through and hit the building right through him. As if he had essentially no way to survive or no way to tank the initial base slashes. But some have interpreted the manga. Let's see if it goes to the bottom of the page.
Him, but he regenerates from them after his adaptation.
Yeah, but like, look at that. Notably, if the slashes had only bounced off Raga, they wouldn't come through that cleanly. But it's implied here, especially by the angles of the dismantles, the one that goes this way and the two that go this way, they literally pass straight through him. But of course, you can name like one character in the verse who can just eat regular casual dismantles. But then again, these ones are bigger than the one he hit Ryu with when he was 15-finger Megana. And Gojo could probably eat him. Those characters also just died of this. So like, it's not like an anti-feat for Raga's durability. And it is a feat for his regeneration speed. But like, still, it is strange. Do you guys think base Raga, unadapted, has crazy durability? Or do you think he kind of has zero durability until he gets hit by something, regens, and adapts? I'm not saying he has zero, but I am saying I don't think he's that bulky, or at least not confirmed to be that bulky in base. But let's see.
It begins. Again, reminder that Sukuna is trying to figure out what Mahoraga's deal is, so he wouldn't just send out his strongest slashes. Sukuna has actually let out stronger slashes, like against Ryu, where he had zero reason to play around. He actually says that he wanted to one-shot him, but Ryu was just so durable it didn't even go through him. This kind of just deletes any assumptions that Mahoraga, and specifically Megumi's, is some kind of durability monster.
Okay, so yeah, so Gamblr's more on my side of things. You're like, yeah, base Raga, his durability ain't all too crazy. Then again, like, even casual slash from 15-finger Sukuna are crazy. Like, and sure, I also do agree that Ryu is most likely the bulkiest character, or one of the bulkiest characters in the verse, and more bulky than a base unadapted Raga. And it is true. Like, he literally does say he was like trying to murder Ryu. He just couldn't. Like, that's why he had to immediately resort to cleave after that. He doesn't, and that is a funny thing about Ryu. He does, like, Sukuna straight up admits, I can't dismantle him to death, which also is unironically an anti-feat for dismantles. like that is actually kind of an anti-feat for dismantle, because if Ryu's able to take it and like, yeah, immediately resort to cleave, that's kind of crazy. But that is a thing, and I'll talk about that, because I'm going to do a Ryu respect video, because I feel like my glorious, legendary, juicy, scrumbly, umptious, heaviest hitter, bulkiest character in the verse, King, is heavily underrated, but another video for another time.
Not really. However, after being hit with Dismantle once and adapting a little, he begins to see his slashes, showing us that the adaptation even at the first hit becomes insane. This is why in the next chapter, the narrator literally tells us the only way to exercise Mahoraga is to slaughter him with a new attack before it can adapt. Cleave, previously stated to be Sukuna adjusting the strength of his slash to the durability and curse energy of the opponent, was something that fit the criteria for this, but again, Sukuna wasn't trying to one-shot Mahoraga, he wanted to see what he was all about. I also assume you already know this, but anime Mahoraga vs Sukuna differed completely from the manga version of the fight. There was only 2 attacks that Mahoraga landed landed on Sukuna, and both of them were things that Sukuna let hit him. The thing is though, you can see that Sukuna is taken aback by the strength of the second attack, because this time instead of positive energy, he uses curse energy, and after being hit by it, he says not bad. In the anime, stuff was crazy. Mahoraga literally looked like a monster. The amount of things Sukuna was throwing at him was insane. We just see Mahoraga deal with it time and time again.
The one thing I will still say, and this is the thing, because I heard people even complain when the fight first came out, it's doing too much. Raga's got too much. He's too strong. He still doesn't do any damage to Sukuna, y'all. Y'all can look throughout the entire anime version of Mahoraga vs. Sukuna. Mahoraga does no damage. Not a lick of damage. And that's the big point, right? That's why I glaze the Shibuya anime adaptation so much, and I can't wait to see how they adapt the Culling games. The core basis of Sukuna testing and playing around with Mahoraga and seeing where Mahoraga stacks up relative to him is still kept in the anime. Mahoraga's desperate fight against Sukuna is just a desperate battle that he cannot win. Literally, after the first adaptation where he's already adapted the slashes, he still just gets smacked up by a whole lot of them. He still gets knocked around and cut up anyway, even after his adaptation. So, unironically, the anime actually makes Mahoraga look a little bit worse, because he tries so hard and gets nowhere. I literally can't even do the traditional Linkin Park move. Like, he goes nowhere. He adapts a whole bunch, but none of it works against Sukuna. So, anime Sukuna actually comes out looking even more powerful. It's like how anime Jogo does a whole bunch against Sukuna and just doesn't do anything. Never lands a hit. And sure, Raga tags Sukuna more, but like, literally in the clip he shows, I'm not going to go back too much, I was like, I don't show too much of the anime because I'm scared, but like, Sukuna like blocks one of the punches with his finger, and then his hands. He's literally playing patty cake with Mahoraga. Mahoraga isn't actually landing any hits. Don't let the anime delusion into thinking that anime Raga is at all relative to Sukuna. He's not. He's still fodder to Sukuna. 50 finger Sukuna, he still made this clear the verb, but at least not.
Of course, the ending of the fight was the same in both the anime and the manga. Before Sukuna uses his domain expansion, he says that Mahoraga might have been able to beat him had Megumi summoned him at the beginning of the story. Well, we literally just got Sukuna verbatim stating that he would have gotten one shot if he was a pure spirit. Not might have, he said he would have, but for this statement there's doubt, and that could be for many reasons. First of all, the state of Sukuna there was crazy. He had no heart, he just used a domain expansion, and again, he wouldn't be out there trying to one-shot him.
That is also true, yeah. That's the one thing, and like, I gotta make the finger video. But I've seen a lot of people try to use that as evidence that, oh, well, the fingers have to do something for him in terms of his stats. No! Not really. The man didn't have a heart, which we know nerfs him. And he was also worried about waking Yuji up, so which means he couldn't heal to full power. Also, he was possibly still in. Like, remember, this is well before either Gojo or Sukuna end up, like, undoing their whole brain damage thing post-domain. So, like, or not brain damage, they're burnt out during domain. So he could be in Curse Technique burnout. If Megumi had summoned him right there, it would have been possibly a heartless, Curse Technique-less Sukuna versus Raga. And obviously, Sukuna without his Curse Technique isn't beating Raga. Just like Sukuna without his Curse Technique isn't beating a lot of characters. A lot of characters. But still, I don't think that's, like, massive evidence. And once again, my main issue with the fingers, and then once again I'll go about more in depth with this in the video, is 3-finger Sukuna being a fifth as strong as 15-finger Sukuna, I feel like just isn't really portrayed narratively. At least not that well. And 1-finger Sukuna being a 20th of the power of full-body 20-finger Sukuna also just doesn't seem, like, it's not portrayed like that narratively, if you think the fingers are linear scaling-wise. And for, like, I've seen people, the 3 main finger arguments I've seen are mine, or not mine, because I didn't come up with it, but others where, like, the fingers don't really do much other than give more curse energy, which we know curse energy caps and fixed in the universe, and Gojo and Sukuna are never stated exempt from that. 2, the fingers are linear, aka each percent is 5%, and he gets all 20, and then he's at 100%. So 1-finger Sukuna is 5% of his full power, and then 20-finger Sukuna is 100%, yada yada. And then there's the exponential idea, where 1-finger Sukuna is exponentially weaker than 2-finger Sukuna, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9. And that's why there's such a massive gap between a quote-unquote 8 to 9-finger level character, like Jogo, and a 15-finger level character, like 15-finger Sukuna. But once again, arguments for another time. Going down a completely different rabbit hole. We haven't even gotten to the main part of the video of characters to be wrong. Let's see.
Would try to see what he can do. So yes, there might be room for Mahoraga to be able to pull out the dub because the state Sukuna was in at that moment just wasn't fit for him to be testing him out. But this does make Mahoraga a 3-finger Sukuna victor because if he wasn't in that state, there wouldn't be any speculation on being beat. That's where Mahoraga receives a massive downscale because could you possibly guess who was literally speculated to be stronger than 3-finger Sukuna? Jogo. And this was speculation by Gojo, who can...
And I'll admit, that's a weird statement. It's strange. It's silly. He's probably stronger than the current Sukuna. And notably, the Sukuna that Gojo's referring here isn't even actually 3-finger. It's 1-finger. Which is weird, but in this case, stronger could literally just mean curse energy amounts. Or like how much curse energy they have. And obviously 1-finger Sukuna would have less curse energy than 20-finger or 3-finger or whatever finger. But like, call me crazy, I still think 1-finger Sukuna gives a whole bunch of the verse backshots on his very few feats. Like literally non-existent feats. He should still have domain. Most characters still lose to that alone. He should still have like normal output. Most characters lose to that alone. He's very efficient. Most characters will lose that. I keep saying lose to that alone. I'm sorry, I'm going down a bad path. Let's not.
Literally look at you and gauge your strength, which is basically what he did at that moment. But
notably, Gojo has been wrong about gauging strength before, even with his insane analytical ability. So,
you get the point. This is also supported by the fact that Gege literally says Shibuya would have been too long had Jogo went up against...
Oh, wait, never mind. Maybe this is just an immediate debunk to my thing. Hold on, A25, that was my intention. It was almost like a process of elimination since one that could match Sukuna was around Jogo's level. Since one that could match Sukuna was around Jogo's level, I didn't want to drag it out of the serialization of Shibuya and said Itadori eat 10 fingers and drew Sukuna dominating him. Oh! Well, never mind. If that's like I can't beat Gege. If that's the statement that was made, then never mind. The fingers do give him amps. Now my question. All right, shoot. How long has this existed? When did this video come out? Guys, no, I never saw this. But, all right. That's weird. Okay, then I'm just gonna, never mind. I'm gonna completely rewrite that video around this one statement because I don't know. Is it linear? Is it just the percentages? I don't know. It's weird. The main reason I find the finger thing so weird is mainly because we see, and obviously Gojo's casual there, but we know Gojo just casually imbues his punches with blue, like Jogo even notes this. But we see 1-finger Sukuna eat Gojo's attacks with minimal problem, and then 20-finger Sukuna eats Gojo's attacks with minimal problem, when realistically, if he truly was 20 times stronger, he should take no damage from any of Gojo's attacks. Unless you want to argue Gojo got 20 times stronger as well, or is holding back to less than a 20th of his output. I don't like casual punches. I don't know. That's always been weird to me. And then also just like the differences between 1 and 3 and 15 and 20 haven't just really felt that quantifiable. At least not to me. But if this statement exists, if Gege himself says that the one fighting Sukuna, so a 5-finger Sukuna, like Gamblrr says here, would struggle around Jogo, and then he didn't against 15. The fingers make him stronger. All right. Hey, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. Oh, golly.
5-finger Sukuna instead of 15-finger Sukuna. So this statement does hold true to a certain extent. So with that being said, the only way Megumi's Mahoraga could edge out a win against a monster like 3-finger Sukuna is with the assumption he's not going all out and not even at his full power. The way Sukuna exercises this Mahoraga is through one-shotting him with Flame Arrow. Now finally I can get into why I keep emphasizing the user when I talk about Mahoraga scaling. This is because in chapter 213, the chapter right after Sukuna takes over Megumi's body, he summons Nue. This Nue was so large it eclipsed the building Sukuna summoned him on, and the lightning it was sending down was insane. This means that Shikigami gets stronger depending on the user. Earlier during the exact same arc, we see Megumi compared to Nue. Holding onto his leg was enough for him. It's pretty obvious the difference in size here. And so
the only thing is though, with Nue specifically, in the redraws, it's actually confirmed that the reason Nue was that big was Not just because Sukuna summoned him, but also because it was fused with Orochi. You can see in the redraws for, I forget which volume number it is, but he has the Orochi mark on his forehead. And once again, look at, like even this panel is perfect. Look at Raga next to Meguna, who's just Megumi. He's not that much bigger than the Raga we saw before, but he is technically slightly bigger. How much being bigger helps, though, is still really unknown. Like, I don't know. But then again, you argue the stat disparity. If Mahoraga truly is 3-finger Sukuna level or lower, and then he gets summoned, and he's able to at least sometimes tag Gojo with the support of Sukuna, clearly that's not 3-finger level, unless you'd have to go with my argument, which is just wrong by that one statement by Gege. So, like, I don't know. Now Raga scaling is extra weird. So never mind, there are differences. It's still strange. Now I gotta recontextualize a whole bunch of stuff. Gosh darn it. All it takes is one statement, man.
With that being said, Megumi's Mahoraga would be leagues weaker than Sukuna's Mahoraga because of their insane gap in strength. Now, after Megumi summoned Mahoraga earlier in the series, we actually never see a non-adapted Mahoraga again, but Gojo says in his mind twice that he would one-shot him if he was ever shown. This obviously is not an anti-feat because Gojo is that guy. We actually see Gojo do exactly what he said he'd do, one-shotting him with Hollow Purple, but something to note is that once Mahoraga adapted to Infinity not once but twice, Gojo implies that Mahoraga deserves to be in the fight with him and Sukuna, opting to kill Agito as he's just not on their level. This version of Mahoraga actually blitzed Gojo with Rokan and Slash, and so that's the level he was on. Going back to why this was significant, we established that 3-finger Sukuna versus Mahoraga might be a close matchup depending on how you see it, but it's more likely that 3-finger Sukuna should cook him. A supposed 2-finger Sukuna might be where Mahoraga can stalemate, so that means the 10 Shadows user from before was most likely under 2-finger level. And this same guy's Mahoraga was able to kill the 6 Eyes user who defeated Kinjaku. If you're
Which is crazy now I think about it. But what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something that had to do with Raga and a scaling. Oh, this is a question for y'all. Do you use World/Raga? Because that's what that is. I guess if you are, you'd have to use adapted World/Raga. In that case, literally no one but Gojo and Sukuna beat him. He now we have the opposite issue, where before I was like, oh, well, Raga stats don't change too much. But now that Gamblr's introduced that statement, it's proven evidence, and plus there are always the arguments for fingers actually mattering, no one beats them. They all get World/diffed. Let me go over the characters who I said beat him before. If Yuta gets sliced in half and doesn't get immediately RCT, dead. By Rika, presumably, and himself, but like dead. Who else did I say? Yuki blitzed and dead instantly. Like, she's not getting a black hole off if she's in half. Well, she'd have to. The thing is, she turned herself into a black hole, so she may steal the black hole while she's in half, but she'd get blitzed in one shot. And then Yorozu blitzed in one shot. Like, that would actually just be a repeat, except she'd be World/ now. Hana? If her passive aura is up, then she may still dissipate Raga instantaneously, so Hana may stick on the list. If you think her passive aura is enough to do it. But you think she needs Jacob's Ladder, she needs time to set that up, dead. She gets blitzed in one shot. Who else did I say? Toji? Probably blitzed in one shot. Like, unironically. To some degree. Yeah, probably. Probably. He's losing an arm, at least. He may not be able to wield Inverted Spear of Heaven if he has no arms. So, like, that's gone. That literally just leaves the other two. Gojo and Sukuna. So, wow. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, World/Raga is broken then. Well, darn. Yeah, now everything changes. So now there's only 3. Well, technically, if Yuta has the passive aura up, but he'd have to start in Domain or something. Like, he wouldn't just have the passive aura like Haname would. May be able to, but let's see.
Catch you what I'm saying Kinjaku is a fucking bum. Yuta actually says that
he actually languaged that himself for me. Thank you, Restless, but Kinjaku is kind of. But then again, I won't say that Kinjaku's a bum because he lost to that 6 Eyes user, because it was a completely different body. We know Kinjaku's potency changes drastically depending on the body he's in. Like, in the Kashimo flashback, he's in a non-combative body. The Ghetto body is combative. So, where you feel about Kinjaku is still contentious. Even me, myself, who used to have Kinjaku as solidly number 3 in the verse, has, like, slowly shifted away from that as I've just looked over his feats. If you look at Kinjaku's feats, separated from his narrative, it's kind of. It ain't good. It ain't good. Because what feats does Kinjaku have? a fatigued Jujutsu High, random Kyoto School fodder, and Yuki. It ain't good. We'll see.
Rika can handle both Mahoraga and Agito, so Mahoraga might be on that level. In the same breath, Kusakabe says Yorame can stall Yuta if they want to, which we see through Hikari being stalled. Hikari is someone who literally just said that Gojo insisted on him or Yuta alone pulling up to help him instead of just Yuta, implying relativity. Anyways, I think I yapped about Mahoraga a little bit too much. Megumi's Mahoraga is below 3 finger level, and Sukuna's Mahoraga is basically unscalable, but we can assume that this Mahoraga is at the heavy hitter tier at the very least. So now let's get into the
he may diff. If we're giving Raga world slash plus scaling, like the only thing you have to do, ignore the rest of the Shinjuku Showdown. Ignore the rest. If you just go with the pre-established narrative that Gojo and Sukuna are literally an entirely different dimensional tier than everybody else, like there's 1, 2, and then the rest, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all that. Then Raga literally blitzes and world slash one-shots everybody. However, if you go with the Shinjuku Showdown later on, then Raga may not even be able to tag a character like Prime Toji wielding a Bird Spear of Heaven because Maki's able to dodge world slashes or full chant dismantles from Hei and Body Sukuna. Yuta is able to eat a whole bunch of hits and even tag Sukuna, like genuinely tag him, of course with the help of Rika, but still that's a thing. But it's weird. It's weird. I have to make a whole video talking about it. It's so strange how the narrative kind of just flips on its head well before Yuji pops in and starts nerfing him. Unless you think, but the only way you can excuse it is Yuji really, that first hit he does, massively dropping Sukuna, plus Sukuna's own character. It's a whole lot to really contradict the narrative of how powerful Gojo and Sukuna were relative to the rest of the verse. But let's see.
The actual focus of the video. Who can take Mahoraga down if put into an actual battle setting? For this section, I'll go over a character's power compared to Megumi's Mahoraga, and if they can get past that, we'll see if they can get past Sukuna's Mahoraga. So with that being said, let's get into the first person on the list. The first character on the list is someone we actually saw directly exercising. Ryomen Sukuna. Not really much to say here. He one-shotted Megumi's Mahoraga, and it's kind of funny because I don't think him exercising Mahoraga as an outsider actually tamed him. I think Sukuna just being strong enough tamed him. Earlier in the series, we saw Sukuna use Piercing Bull and Tranquil Deer without even doing the ritual. They just followed.
I think, okay, in my opinion, I think Sukuna just tamed them off screen. That may be a me thing, because we don't know how much time passes in between the Megana possession and the Yorozu fight. At least I don't think we know how much time. But like, I think he tamed them off screen. But maybe Gamblr's right, and it was just straight an aura thing. They're like, oh, we can't beat this guy. No point. So we'll just follow him. Maybe that's the case.
Follow him because he's Sukuna. And so with that being said, it's pretty obvious that Sukuna would just one-shot his Mahoraga because he tamed it through that exact information. Next on the list is another character we see exercise Mahoraga, Gojo. Gojo, like I said earlier, stated twice that he would one-shot Sukuna's Mahoraga, and the second time he's about to use a reversal red on him. Once he actually one-shots him, it's with a hollow purple that puts Sukuna himself into critical condition. With that being said, a blue from Gojo would one-shot Megumi's Mahoraga, and we see that Gojo was able to one-shot Sukuna's Mahoraga. Next on the list is Yuta, and we just talked about this, but he believes he and Rika could handle not only Sukuna's Mahoraga, but Agito at the same time.
And like, this is a strange statement, and I talked about this because Lumiere did a video on Yuta versus Agito and Mahoraga. It really depends on what you think Yuta means. Riki-chan and I can handle the two Shikigami. Does that mean he thinks he's gonna one-shot them both? Presumably, he can't do that. Even with the Love Beam, he'd have to use his technique and or Jacob's Ladder. Which is using his technique or use Domain. He'd have to do one of those things, right? To just one-shot them. But there is the genuine argument. If you think Yuta is, once again, especially thanks to the back half of the Shinjuku Showdown, you could make the argument that Rika could just grab Mahoraga and Agito in her hands and fly away. That could genuinely happen. Just because of how funky the scaling is in the back half of the Shinjuku Showdown. Even for Raga, yeah. It's weird. Don't get me wrong, it's weird. But let's see.
He also knows how Mahoraga works. Everyone is watching the stream and is aware of his adaptation. Despite this, Yuta's confident in his ability to handle both the Shikigami, and this isn't for no reason. Yuta is in possession of multiple things to take down the Shikigami, and the most notable thing is Jacob's ladder.
Yep.
In his domain, say if he uses it, his sure hit is Jacob's ladder, and we've seen Jacob's ladder literally delete a 10 shadow Shikigami before. But clearly Yuta,
ironically enough, it wasn't even Jacob's ladder that deleted Nue. You can see it is literally Hana just existing that stops Nue and even stops the lightning it was casting. It completely shuts down the technique. And just by Hana appearing well before Jacob's ladder. Jacob's ladder only drops after that. So Hana's passive aura kind of goes crazy, at least on curse techniques. Let's see.
is even talking about that, he also has his blast that Rika herself can use on her own. These blasts were strong enough to stalemate Ryu's blasts, which are stated to be as strong as just its output, which was stated to be higher than anyone in history. That one-shots Megumi's Mahoraga and Sukuna's as well.
The only thing is, though, the big thing I've always said about the Love Beam in particular, and even Ryu's regular blast, while their output is fantastic, it's their scale that is an issue. Their scale. Because remember, you gotta one-shot all the rock. You can't just take off an arm. You can't just take off a hand. You can't just take off its leg. You gotta eviscerate the boy. Annihilate him. Or vaporize him. Like what he could do with Jacob's Ladder, what Hana could do with Aurora and Jacob's Ladder. Just hitting him with the Love Beam? I don't know. I don't think that's enough. But let's see. But then again, though, he does show the clip from... Let me see. There we go. If it's that big and that wide and Raga gets caught up in all of it, then yeah, it dies. But at least the current Love Beams we've seen Rika use are not to the scale of the Binding Vow Death one that Yuta used in Zero. They're small beams. They're small, like they're barely bigger. They're barely as big as Ryu's head. Because remember, he literally like fires it from his head and hands. So like Ryu palms Rika's Love Beam. I don't think I need to convince you that Raga is bigger than Ryu's palms. Well, let's see.
Rika herself can use on her own. These blasts were strong enough to stalemate Ryu's blasts, which are stated to be as strong as just its output, which was stated to be higher than anyone in history. That one-shots Megumi's Mahoraga and Sukuna's as well. Yuta overall just has too many things for Mahoraga to adapt to, and you just need to stop him in place and blast him. Speaking of Ryu, I think he's got a chance against him. We know in character Ryu's the type to literally just let off granite blasts right off the bat, and I just claimed that Mahoraga gets one shot by the attack that stalemated Ryu's blast. Ryu is also super underrated. In a past video, I established that the heavy hitters didn't actually get faster during the time skip. I'll put the link in the description if you want to go check it out after this.
I saw that video. Yuji vs. Yuta isn't fair. I'm going to react to that one too. And that is true. Notably, the only stat increase that the heavy hitters, and by heavy hitters, minus Maki, by the way, because she's not a reinforcement, but like everyone gets is just physical reinforcement. That's all that Sukuna mentions. Nothing else increases. Not their AP, nothing. So Ryu, and notably, Ryu's still stated to be bulkier than Yuji and Yuta. He just is. Way bulkier, in fact, considering he eats full output dismantles from a hypothetical... Either if you think it's 15 finger that he hasn't eaten the other fingers yet and hasn't eaten the mummy yet, or even still those casual slashes from, or not even casual, because notably Sukuna was trying to kill Ryu. As he said, I was trying to fillet you in 3, but he literally couldn't. Meanwhile, Yuta and Yuji are still taking damage from what is already an extremely nerfed and brain damaged Sukuna at that point. So yeah, Ryu doesn't get surpassed in terms of bulk and doesn't actually get outsped that much, if at all. Let's see.
This video. This is important because Ryu is literally the only guy in Sendai to be able to box with Yuta relatively, and so Ryu should be able to box with Mahoraga as well by extension.
He Uro boxes with him. Uro boxes with him for a bit. In fact, she outpaces him. That's how she's able to use her technique. But in terms of like boxing evenly on physical grounds, yeah, I could see Ryu being the only one because he does literally.
I think Ryu could one-shot Mahoraga before he adapts, but if he does, he's cooked. Next, I have Yorozu.
Okay, Yorozu, True Spear. That's the only thing I'll do it. But, yeah, for Ryu, I think it needs to be a big enough blast, though. Like, even you see the explosion blast here, I don't think that's big enough. And only this is a clashing of two beams. I don't think, like, the impacts of Ryu's blasts are big enough, and when they're in their small conjugated form. It has to be that big, wide one. But as people point out, maybe that does less damage, which may not be enough to destroy Raga, depending on how you interpret Raga's durability. So, Like I said, all the way back at the beginning of the video when I had a completely different view in my mind, Ryu is still kind of iffy, especially considering he doesn't. Well, then again, if when we first see him open up with a super large granite blast, and Raga's pretty big, so he may try it anyway, but still.
Raga before he adapts, but if he does, he's cooked. Next, I have Yorozu, and this might be kind of stupid because we've seen Mahoraga adapt to liquid metal, but hypothetically, if Yorozu were to make a perfect spear and use domain expansion, Mahoraga is finished. There's literally nothing saving him from infinite pressure, and the reason he adapted the first time was because Sukuna was the one taking the burden of adapting, and he just passed it on to him. With that being said, I think this combo works on both Megumi's Mahoraga and Sukuna's. Heck, it should work on literally anyone. Next, I have Yuki, and it's not for the reason you think. Yuki doesn't need a black hole to exercise Mahoraga because her basic attacks are already more than enough. This soccer ball kick is deleting Mahoraga instantly. There is literally no one in the verse who can tank this attack, and especially not Mahoraga. If not, she just punches or kicks him out of existence.
But once again, it's the scale of damage. If it hits Raga directly in the core and it like bursts everything from there, then maybe. But like if it hits Raga's arm, she's cooked because he'll just regenerate and adapt. If it hits Raga's feet, cooked, regenerate and adapt. And once again, he's doing it the way I was doing it, thinking of okay, who are characters with the potency and attack speed in order to do this. But if you, especially for Sukuna's Raga, since I'm just out rolling with it, fingers change. Raga strong fast. Realistically, Yuki's not landing a hit on Raga. Maybe Megumi Raga, once again, considering he's weaker than Jogo. But she's not landing a hit on Sukuna's Raga. She's not. She's getting blitzed in one shot by Suka Raga. Especially if it has World Slash. Even if it doesn't have World Slash, he will just knock her around. Like he knocks Suka, like Megumi's Raga knocked Sukuna around. And then Yuki's never getting a hit off. And she's slowly going to lose. Until she domains. But then again, we don't know what her domain does. Maybe it one-shot Raga, maybe it wouldn't. Who knows? Let's see. But that's the only thing I think. Right? Same thing with Ryu. Ultimately, he may not even be able to hit Raga. Raga may dodge. Or at least part of it. Just because the speed that Raga should be at to keep up and be considered a worthy combatant alongside Gojo and Sukuna, that's a pretty high speed tier. Then unless you start, once again, drawing from future stuff in the Shinjuku Showdown and being like, well, there's no way Raga's faster than Hand Body Sukuna, which I would agree with. But I don't know, Hand Body Sukuna's weird in the manga for the Shinjuku Showdown. He's a silly little guy, you know? Because sometimes he can get tagged by Yuji, pre-awakened, and be forced to block him, or choose to block him. And then sometimes he can perception blitz Maki. Dichotomy. Let's see.
And of course, if worse comes to worse, Yuki black holes him, taking herself out as well. Oh yeah, also her domain expansion might just kill him. Domain expansions are described to be the pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery, so it should scale higher than the black hole if you really think about it. Of course, it's just speculation.
Kinda, yeah. But then again, I think the black hole gets a buff from Yuki sacrificing her life. That's the thing. It's like how, well, Yuta has domain expansion, and thusly his domain expansion should be stronger than the death binding vow he made in Volume 0 with Rika, right? And not necessarily, because it's a death binding vow. When you put your life on the line in JJK with the binding vow system, you do get exponentially more power than what you could typically access. So honestly, I'd say Yuki's black hole is likely still stronger than her domain, if solely for the fact that she died. Can't get much more power than just straight up dying. Let's see.
Because we literally have no idea what it would be, but just something to think about. Kenjaku is on the list. Alright, I know earlier in
oh gosh darn it, we were doing so good, Gamblrr. What time be? Alright. At least you got me at a nice even time. Alright, editing me. Wake up, buddy. Gamblrr decided to put you to work, pal. Gamblrr decided to put you to work. Alright, 3. But yeah, once again, I have the same issue with Kenny that I do with Yuta and Ryu, where like if the Uzumaki's big enough, huh? If the domain expansion sure hit is big enough and strong enough, that one shots. And also Kenny's whole arsenal gets blitzed in one shot by Raga. Kenny himself likely gets blitzed in one shot by Raga. Same thing, same issue that Yuki runs into, where she would probably generally get blitzed by proper Raga or Suka Raga. Same issue here with Kinjaku. He probably gets blitzed and then viciously one tap. Mahoraga may still give Kenny back shots. But let's see. I'm assuming the beam.
But to be fair, I do think him at his best in Geto's body should be able to do the job. Curse Spirit Manipulation is too versatile for Mahoraga. One of Kenjaku's curses literally had a domain expansion, another spawned a bunch of roaches and gave birth to another one, and another one had a technique to remove all obstacles. Of course, they all get one shot because of Mahoraga's blade, but the point is the versatility. Above all, he has Uzumaki, which will one-shot Mahoraga no matter what, and his domain expansion can do the same if not worse. Kenjaku should be on the heavy hitter level in stats, as again I established they didn't really get any faster, so he should be able to box with Mahoraga. And while on the topic of Uzumaki, I have Geto. This is literally just because of Uzumaki, and also I have to hold up my agenda. Kinjaku equals Geto. Next I have Kashimo, but
oh, gosh, I knew I was forgetting somebody. Once again, how big is the beam? How big is this movie? Honestly, the Raga matchup is how big is your beam? If you think Kashimo's beam, like once it, because we see it does cone. It is not a singular blast like Ryu's small granite blast. It does cone out when he fires it, especially with the two-hand one. But if it doesn't vaporize all the Raga, he dies. Because Raga adapts. Like that's the big issue. That's the big issue for everybody with any sort of beam type attack. Same thing with Geto, right? How big is Uzumaki? And once again, is Uzumaki fast enough to tag Sukuraga? Well, I don't know. But let's see.
But specifically in Mythic Beast Amber, Kashimo was cooking this Sukuna, so he should be able to cook Mahoraga, and as for the potency of his attacks, he knows how Mahoraga's adaptation works.
Now, in that Sukuna's defense, he was pretty roughed up and still barely took any damage from Kashimo's hits. Let's see.
So he just attacking with all he's got. His lightning discharge is easily attainable after 3 hits. With Kashimo's speed, he'd be able to attain those 3 hits easily and one-shot Mahoraga.
But once again, I think the bolt's too small. Like, look at this. Panda's, that disgusting creature is still in one piece. Can we get much higher? Okay, I'm sorry. But like, it's still in one piece. So like, if it's in one piece, Raga will be close enough in one piece, even after a bolt. It's really the EM waves and the scale of the EM waves that'll like determine whether or not Raga survives.
It will most likely go down just like it did against Panda. This is a big maybe though, because if he's not able to do this, Mahoraga would adapt to electricity, and from there Kashimo will be cooked because that's literally the only thing at his disposal. I think Kashimo cooks him though. Next I have Toji, and this is only because of Inverted Spirit of Heaven.
Yeah.
Toji knows about blue and red from the Gojo clan, so he'd obviously know about Mahoraga. The thing is, it's not even about turning Mahoraga off, which I think he could do. Assuming they just fight and the spear doesn't do that, it's likely that the spear would turn off his adaptation. I say this because Sukuna can adapt while using domain amplification, something literally stated to halt your use of your curse technique. So if that's the case, all Toji would have to do is turn off the curse technique and cook him just like he did against Gojo. Again, this is...
I would say, even if he stops the adaptation, Raga can still regenerate. And Toji doesn't have anything big enough to destroy Raga. And notably, for the Inverted Spirit of Heaven, it's hard to tell because Gojo, as he says, the moment you pierce my throat, I gave up on fighting back. But like, we don't know how long Inverted Spirit turns off a technique. So if you think Inverted Spirit would only shut off the adaptation, Raga's regen probably isn't based on its adaptation. Raga's scale isn't probably based off that. And if Toji ever removes the spear from Raga to like pull out SSK or anything like that, well then again, SSK, it would be weird. If Raga may not be able to regenerate from SSK. Because does Raga have a soul? Have I gotten too deep into my JJK video if I'm asking if Raga has a soul? Probably, but I think that would have to be like a multi-layered thing. Like if you think it just turns off adaptation, doesn't just pop Raga like a soap bubble, because it's a technique, so it can forcibly stop, then like you have to leave Inverted Spirit in to make sure Raga can't adapt, for one, and 2, can't regenerate if you think the regeneration is tied to the adaptation and not a separate ability that's just innate to Raga itself, like the adaptation is itself anyway. And then he would have to specifically SSK it down. For like it would take forever. Like it just keep living. So that's a strange one. I don't think Toji would beat it if it's just the adaptation that gets turned off. Unless he leaves Inverted Spirit in and the regeneration stops too. I don't know. We'll see.
Super contentious, I'd understand if this line of reasoning doesn't work for you. With that being said, Maki and Toji might be able to one-shot him with Soul Split Katana because Cleave can do the exact same thing. Cleave is an attack that just one-shots you, and we've seen both Maki and Toji do the exact same things to curse spirits. This is...
But once again, is that enough though? Because we've seen, then again, it was a different kind of bisection. But like, we see that happen. Like, look at this. I don't think Maki can do it just because of the scale of her attacks. And I know there's certain people in my comments who be like, oh, Pencil, the Maki meat muncher, thinking Maki can't do something? That's crazy. I know. But, like, look at this. Split straight down the middle by a Cleave BT dot. Well, actually, no, I think it's revealed to be a point blank dismantle because Cleave fit the criteria for a new attack. But still, he's been split down the middle before. He's been split apart. And Maki's fast. I don't think she's gonna be able to beat that regeneration, and once that adaptation kicks in, SSK is worthless. So I don't know.
It's also contentious because Mahoraga might be able to just regenerate, but you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. This could definitely work against Megumi's Mahoraga, but it's way more debatable with Sukuna's. Now the next three on the list are definitely not stepping to Sukuna's Mahoraga, and it's not only because of the stats, but because two of these characters are completely countered. The two characters in question are Jogo and Mahito. They would get one shot of touch by...
Yeah, and he'd blitz them. Yeah, that's the thing with those two. They get blitzed at one tap.
Mahoraga, but the thing is, we talked about this a little earlier. Megumi's Mahoraga is below 3 finger level, and Jogo is at 3 finger level himself. Jogo's Max Meteor or Domain Expansion might just one-shot the Shikigami. If you want to say Sukuna was admitting he get damaged by Max Meteor here, then this argument is just way more solid. But again, one hit is done, Jogo's cooked. Mahito on the other hand is just because of how his curse technique works. If he uses his Domain Expansion, he might just be able to one-shot Mahoraga.
Does Raga have a soul? He's an inanimate object in the JJK universe, or an object in the JJK universe, so he has a soul probably. But still, it's weird to think about. Like, does Mahito have the ability to manipulate Raga's soul? What's this soul made out of? Because you know Mahito can't manipulate the soul of inanimate objects. It has to be like a living being. He can still manipulate curses, presumably he can manipulate himself, and he can manipulate humans. But like, what is Raga? Can he manipulate Shikigami? I don't know, but still, it'll be weird.
And turn him into a chicken nugget. If Mahoraga can adapt upon being turned into a chicken nugget, you guys can tell me in the comments. The third character though is Mekamaru.
Yeah.
He's only here because of the Toji case. When he fought against Mahito, he was able to get through Mahito's curse technique with Simple Domain, and so if you assume the same for Toji, and Mekamaru uses his attacks that Kinjaku states are on par with special grades, he might be able to take down Megumi's Mahoraga. Sukuna's Mahoraga just one-shots him though. His ultimate weapon got taken out by a punch from Mahito.
True.
And another character on the curse technique wave is Higaruma. Mahoraga would be getting the death sentence as...
Would it though? Whoa! Who did Raga? Wow. The thing is every Raga the same Raga? Does Raga just go back to bed every time? Maybe. And probably would be killed. But like, couldn't it just adapt the court, bro? Well, no, it's infinity. That's the thing. Does Raga count as an offensive tech? Does he get shut off by Higuruma's domain simply activating? Does Raga have to follow the Japanese legal system? I don't know. It's always how I felt. It's why I always felt weird about, like, how would Mahito interact with Higuruma? He's a cursed spirit. He's not human. It's like, it's like asking, hey, can you charge a dog with arson because it accidentally burned a house down? Not really. So, like, same thing with the Shikigami. Can you charge a Shikigami? You can charge its user, but, like, I'm not sure if you can charge a Shikigami. But still, he may get dispelled because he's an act of violence, as he is a curse technique specifically used for violence. I don't know. Let's see.
As we know, he kills every 10 Shadows user. If Higuruma was able to take away his adaptation curse technique, all Higuruma would have to do is hit him once in...
Or he may legit, if Raga can be charged, he's a legal binding citizen, Raga is the technique that would be taken away. He just died. Instantly, no execution sword needed.
Mahoraga's done. I think he could do that to Megumi's Mahoraga, but Sukuna's is super contentious. Higuruma sadly just doesn't have the feats to prove he can step to the heavy hitters. And finally, I want to talk about Takaba, who's a very, very interesting case.
But wait, no Hana mentioned? He mentioned Hana in Yuta section, but come on now. Come on now. You can't not mention the original when you're talking about the copy. Come on now. I get it though, no one likes Hana. No one likes Hana.
You've seen him literally one-shot a special grade curse with a truck using his curse technique, so there's that, but it depends on Mahoraga's adaptation. When Takaba's curse technique is in use, it's constantly changing, hitting you with different things, and eventually it just defeats you. That's what was going on against Kinjaku, and Mahoraga isn't even a human, so we wouldn't care not to exercise him. With that said, Chuck-kun might just one-shot Mahoraga just because Takaba finds it funny.
Probably.
If not, Mahoraga might be able to adapt to not only the scenarios being thrown at him, but also the concept of reality manipulation in general, and just take Takaba down altogether. I think Takaba takes down Megumi's Mahoraga, but Sukuna's Mahoraga is way more contentious. But this is where we reach the end of the video. I don't think I missed anyone, but if I did, definitely let me know in the comments. Characters with big one-shot techniques like the majority of the ones I talked about today are definitely more favored when it comes to taking down Mahoraga. Characters like Hikari or Yuji aren't here because they don't have what it takes to just one-shot Mahoraga, even though they should be able to take him on. On the other hand, we have characters who turn off or take away curse techniques. They should have a chance under the assumption that adaptation is a curse technique. I didn't talk about Hana, but she would have been included in the list if we're talking about turning Mahoraga off as a win con. Anyways, what did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. And I'll catch y'all
in the next one. Yeah, but there we go. Okay, this is an hour and 4-minute video. Mercy, why do I yap so much? Would y'all be interested in me like reacting to his One Piece videos, even though I don't read One Piece? Would y'all be interested? I'll be wrong. I've been wrong before though, and like stuff I claim to be knowledgeable on. I may do it anyway, but if there's any of his One Piece videos or any One Piece videos in general you want me to react to, I will do it. If only for the fact that I know a lot about One Piece despite having not read it. Weirdly, I know weirdly not a lot and weirdly little. Actually, probably because of Restless Gambler too. But overall, a W video. Any like slight contentions I have with like scale or anything like that or speed, they're there. Obviously, I like this video a whole lot because it gave me like revelations. Like I didn't know that Gege statement existed. That like the Jogo relativity wasn't just like Gojo or Jogo and Kinjaku huffing air or like losing their mind. No, Gege actually believes that. So like finger scaling is real. I didn't know that. Bada bing, bada boom. So there's that. And also just every other bit of discussion. It's a W video. Fire editing, fire everything. It's Restless Gambler, bro. Like, he just makes peak. He literally produces peak on a daily basis. Or he posts weekly, I do believe. But on a weekly basis. But overall, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave... Well, no, because y'all may be talking about Sukuraga and Megiraga. Leave... Unlimited adaptation. Leave unlimited adaptation in the comment section down below. Like, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any of the second of the channel. Also do want to have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. So now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks will include the live reaction to every series I have to review, and free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also I do a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below, where you drop 5 beans for a short video, 20 beans long video, or any beans at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Greyhound, Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Glacier, XZ, G Prosper, Planet Crone, Zeta, and Brandon Payne. Then I'd like to give a little thank you to our line art tier patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, Encarnacion, and A+A. And then I'd like to give a huge thank you to our Ink tier members: Fine, Austin Wimberly, Euchiha, Yuki Ally, and Carlo Alaimo. Then I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. Then I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Overlord Zero, Waki Minoz, and Idemokami. Then I'd like to give a final legendary top of the line thank you to our That Guy with a Pencil tier patron, the glorious king, Calvin Elder.